Listen, I'll take the flack. It's the best burgers in Melbourne. Mark, owner of College Dropout, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
After I posted the first time my stories about your store, and it's like a lot of people have heard about you, but there's always those people that want to know that part of the story where you mentioned Kanye. Say what you can say.
Thank God my lawyer's on here, man. This is probably the first time I'm going to say this publicly, but there was talks of a potential licensing deal, and people probably won't believe this story, but I've got the receipts to show it.
Yeah, anyway, welcome back to the podcast, and we're glad to be back in full force. Today we have another special guest, like super special guest this time, because it's like...
Every time it's a special guest.
But this is a super special guest. Super special guest. Mark, College Dropout, owner of College Dropout. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. I'm very humble to be here, I guess. I mean, you know, when I started the burger kind of brand and, you know, started making burgers, I never thought I'd be sitting here talking to a legend, you know, and let alone just doing a podcast, you know. So yeah, thanks for having me.
When he said legend, he's talking about Sol. Sol's here for the first time.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the legend, right?
It's an honor to be here as well. Good to talk to arguably the best burgers, in my opinion, in Victoria.
Listen, I'll take the flack. It's the best burgers in Melbourne. It's the best burgers in Australia. Well, I haven't tried all Australia. But,
yeah, we haven't.
But I'll say Melbourne.
You know, like having the best burger and putting on a pedestal was very, you know, it's a very personal kind of, you know, kind of experience. Like if you ask my old man what the best burger is, he's going to go for an old school fish and chip shop.
Yeah, always.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's like, when you say, oh, you know, I'd like to say that we've got a good burger, you know, and we do, you know, well in trying to, you know, try and create something and trying to create more than just a burger. We try and create an experience as well that kind of brings people back. So yeah, so I appreciate that though. That's good.
I'm just gonna keep claiming it. It's like it's king. That's what it is.
Thank you.
But the thing is with. Like I don't usually eat burgers. I'm not a burger guy. But it's like Ali, my brother, he's been on the podcast before, right?
Yeah, you had an episode with him.
I think we did. Yeah, we had one episode.
Oh yeah,
with
we
him.
did too.
Yeah. So he's been on the podcast before, and he took us to your restaurant where you weren't there, and we tried it for the first time, and it's like, this place is too dope. Like
Thank you, man.
Everyone should know about it. And as you said, you do create experience. It is themed. It is like, especially if you're a Kanye fan, it's like, that's like the dream place to go to, and you resonate with it. Like you show the culture in your place. Like you go in there and it's like you're fully immersed in it.
Not only that, it's like it's a very different environment in the sense your staff, you included, they treat you like family, which you don't find too often in a lot of places. Like you go in there, you feel, I don't know how to explain. It's like you feel like at home, but you're at a burger restaurant. It's like I feel so comfortable there. For me,
fun,
and I feel Kode as well. I get anxious sometimes around some people when I'm around new people. With you guys and just in that environment, it just lights you up. And then the food always hits amazing. So.
I've never actually had someone say that before, but I mean, the only thing I can say towards that is I treat all my staff and anyone that works for me or with me like family. And I kind of hope that kind of, you know, brings forward into the way they treat other people as well in the workforce, you know. So I mean, if they're treating you like family, then it's definitely, you know, like I'm definitely doing something right by them, you know. And I'm like, that's one of the things that I love is like each person that walks through the doors is just as important as the last, you know. And I think especially with food, man, like consistency's like key,
the most important thing,
you know. Like if you're consistently gonna have a shit burger, then have a shit burger in your venue all the time. Like don't just have a good burger because someone else is working. Like I feel like, you know, we strive to actually have like a great burger every single time you come.
Yeah, top tier food aside, it's like, as he was saying, it's like Sol knows that my anxiety peaks in crowds. And when we went and met you for the basically first time at your Brunswick new location, I was calm. I was like, it was good.
I felt, I think Shady put it perfectly when he said it feels like home.
Yeah,
Really,
it did.
And honestly, like speaking,
I apologise for the rant before.
nah, man. Hey,
I went a bit fucking crazy there.
look, it made me want to go to war for you, but at the same time, very confused, and I respect
Yeah,
that.
it's like
I'm a confusing guy.
yeah, you hyped us all up. It's like, yeah, let's go fight. Fight what? I don't know. It's like
So I'll tell you what the premise was. So like each kind of store, you know, and you know, I'm thankful to kind of say that I've got two now, and I'm hoping to get more. Each store I kind of want to have like a different vibe and experience, and it is all inspired and connected to either a Kanye album or a Kanye time. So for example, like the store in Ivanhoe, you got grid lights on top that was inspired by his Yeezy One fashion show. And when I was kind of coming up with the concept of the store, I like just having the idea of someone walking to because most burger shops or most food venues you go to is all like dark and dim. So when someone actually gets a good product and they want to take a photo, it's like there's no lighting, so it just looks pretty bland. So the idea of having such bright lights in Ivanhoe was to be like, this is like a photographer studio. Like anyone can take a great photo. And from a business standpoint, like the idea I got was like, well, if people are going to want to take a photo, then they're going to post it, send it to a friend, and it's just going to get trending, and it's going to spread the word that, hey, we're here at College Dropout, we've got a burger, and so on, right? Whereas when I was coming up with Brunswick, the whole vibe there was a completely different vibe where you got clouds and it's a little bit darker, and it's, you know, it might feel a little bit homely because of where it's kind of where it is in Brunswick, you know. It's
Next to the townhouses and stuff.
Yeah, so like it's kind of got the home feel, but that particular store, you know, like I take bits and pieces out of inspiration from like guys like Kanye West and, you know, Kid Cudi and these guys and Travis Scott and all these guys that I've kind of grown up with, even guys like Eazy-E and NWA, like that kind of vibe as well. So with the Brunswick store, it was more like I just wanted it to be like a complete different world. Like when we were doing the shop fit and people will be like, this doesn't even look like a burger shop. And I was like, thank you. I don't want it to look like a burger shop. You know, and then I asked myself the question, like, you know, because I consider myself a creative, right? And I'm like, how do you define a burger shop? Like, it's almost like when burger shops started trending, it was just like, this is the blueprint. Have some corny rap mural up in your wall. Have like booth seats, or have specific stuff that kind of suits this criteria that someone, you know, started with, and it just continued on and it just snowballed. And I was like, I don't want it to look like a burger shop, you know. And I guess I've always been that way. Like I always like being different. Kind of feel like I am different in some ways. Like I'm not your traditional food guy. Like before I even started in food, I never worked in a cafe or a restaurant ever in my life.
how'd you get good at it? Like you just jumped in
Well, it's not
straight
just how'd you get good at it. What made you want to get there if it wasn't a passion?
So
at the
I
time?
guess, I mean, when I was growing up, when I was about 16-ish, I went through some body, you know, like issues, I guess, you know, with the way I looked. I was a bit self-conscious about the way I looked, and, you know, I was playing footy at the time with mates and whatever, but then I kind of wanted to lose weight for summer and all this stuff. So I was always like a bigger guy growing up. So like I got into like, you know, fitness and health, and then that kind of led to getting involved in bodybuilding and powerlifting and that type of stuff, and I went down that road. When we were growing up around that time, there wasn't anything like meal preps, and you know, things weren't so accessible to get good food and stuff, because it wasn't, you know, it wasn't the way it is today, where like literally everywhere you go there's a meal, you know, there's a frozen meal pack that's got exactly how much protein's in it, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I kind of learned the art of cooking and finding different ways to make flavors better, because you're consistently having the same shit food every fucking day.
Yep.
Right? Like, put a bowl of microwave chicken in front of me right now, and I'm out the fucking door. I don't want to see it, man. Sweet potato and rice and just so, you know, being like a home cook and, you know, growing up in like a Lebanese household, right? Cooking other food that what your mum's making you is like taboo. like, what's wrong with the food I just made you?
Yeah.
You're like, Mum, you know, whatever, and so on. And, you know, God rest her soul, like, a lot of the stuff that I learned in the kitchen was from my mum. And just seeing her prepare food and, you know, and seeing hands in food and, you know, knowing that it's coming from a place of love and she's there to, you know, my parents are there to provide for the family and that. And I personally think that's the biggest thing that's missing in today's time. Like, people don't appreciate, you know, the just those simple things of putting food onto a table, you know. And
goes back to your concept though, right? Your passion started from you didn't have the options of a U-Foods, of a MasterChef.
100%.
But now essentially that, right? Everyone can just get Uber Eats and stuff. So the want to cook isn't there at all. Like, there's no need for these people.
Man.
Yeah.
I think convenience made us complacent. That's
complacency. I mean, that's what it's built.
Look, times are going to change. I mean, whether we're going in the right direction or the wrong direction, we'll soon find out.
Yeah.
But I always believe no matter how far it goes or where it goes in the wrong direction, it's always going to go back to its basics. And that's just like,
yeah,
you know, there's like an old school, you call it, just like some meme or whatever, where you got like, you know, 10,000 BC, eat this root, and 1,000 BC is like fish or whatever it is, right? And then it comes to today's time, it's like, take this pill, whatever, and now it's coming to the point where it's like, eat this root.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So like a reset, yeah.
Eventually, like, people want, you know, I think people always go back to their roots and go back to what is essential, you know, and what's non-essential. Like getting Uber Eats and that, you know, it was funny because during COVID, we were treated as like we were the essential. And like, we're not. Like, we're preparing food and giving it to people. But like, essential is like, if the world's going to end, you want food in your house to cook. And it was crazy that, like, you know, COVID kind of reconditioned people even more so to be able to order online and seek alternative measures of getting food. Was, you know, like, it stopped being about, you know, sitting at the dinner table with the whole family. Like, when we grew up, when dinner was served, TV was off, everyone was at the table. You know, obviously there was no phones when we were growing up and whatever, but the attention was to be onto the family.
Yeah. You
know, and I think that's missing so much today. And it's great that you felt like, you know, you were treated like family, because that's one of the things that I put forward. Like, I want people to walk into their, you know, into my store and feel like they are a part of our family, you know, and that's I believe that's what, you know, can separate, you know, a great experience to a bad experience. You know, like, one of the main things I tell my staff sometimes, you know, and like, you know, to be honest, I call them more of a team, man. Like, staff is just a way of saying this person works for me. Like, I've got a team and I try and take on things that they want to do and they say as well, that's important. And I think the biggest mistake from people, you know, in my industry is that they never walk into their own shop as a customer. And my thing is, like, I won't mention who, but there's been a few people that have come into my shop from other businesses, and, you know, who's to say that maybe they're trying to get ideas or whatever, and that's fine, right? Like, I take that, you know, as a positive, but I'd walk into my own shop before I walk into someone else's. So during the heat of the moment, when it's at busiest, sometimes I'll go around the back, go around the front, and I'll actually walk into my shop as if I am a customer. And what things do I gravitate to first? Is it is the floor? Like, is the floor dirty? Are the tables not clean? How many people are in the shop? You know, is there a person ready for me to get served? How many people in the kitchen? These type of things, right? And I sometimes do it just to to always grow and to get better. Because I think when you become too complacent, you think, oh no, the business is fine, everything's fine. You can go down another road where you just stop giving a fuck. And that's what I don't want to happen. Like, even when people give me bad reviews and shit, man, it's like, what did the person actually say though? Maybe there's some truth to it. Like, you can't get so defensive about it, you know? And there are things that I'll take on board, and, you know, it takes me a couple of days to get over the fact that someone didn't like a particular thing, and then be like, you know what, maybe that person was right. So then I'll walk back into my shop and be like, maybe the person was right. There is no scene here. Probably talking too much, man. But
No.
So it's like I get a lot of people come up to me that previously would kind of blow me off, right? Because I'm not your traditional food guy. And it's super ironic, man, that I get people that are very established people coming up to me, ask me for advice. And I'm like, I was looking up to you, asking me for advice, right? But then, like, we start a conversation, and I blow their mind because I'm not your conventional food guy. Like, I haven't been programmed the way you've been programmed. Like, all the things I've learned is through trial and error, you know? So going through that process, you're like, how do I get my brand to get, you know, popular and whatnot, right? And get people into my store. And the first thing I always say is you need to build it within your community. And before any of the Kanye thing came out, and the Ivanhoe community is nothing I've ever experienced before. We grew up in Coburg and Brunswick and those suburbs, which is the complete opposite of like what Ivanhoe actually is. But the people that live in Ivanhoe love to support their community. And if you're good at what you do, they'll support you and they'll spread the word. You know, whether you've got 10 followers on social media or you got 10,000 followers, right? The community, your name will get out there through word of mouth. And that's what's been lost over time. I think word of mouth has gone and it's shifted from a conversation to someone's posted a video or a post or, you know, whatever it may be, right? And my first focus was, you know, Ivanhoe as a community I'm in, how am I going to build in and then out? And then in time, it's like you start to get the people in Ivanhoe get pissed off because there's more people coming from outside and like, hey man, that's my seat, you know, like we've been here since day one.
It's fair to say it blew up, like it blew up big, and it blew up to the point where, like, I don't know how big it was. I knew from word of mouth how big it was, but after I posted the first time in my stories about your store, and it's like a lot of people have heard about you, but there's always those people that want to know that part of the story where you mentioned Kanye before.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. We know you're a absolutely huge fan of Kanye. Like, we know.
Well, thank God my lawyer's on here, man. But
say what you can say.
No, look, man. Like, I'll say anything. Like the whole. So, if I was to go through the whole story, we'd probably be here all day, all right?
Yeah. Just dot point summarize.
I'll go through how fast it is, right? I started a dessert brand called Nuts About Teller, right? That's how I first introduced myself into the food game, right? And I started just towards the end of time when I was like in that bodybuilding phase. I was like, man, there's no fucking like real cheap meals and desserts that I want. You know, like you got Pancake Parlor and Max Brenner and all these places. Like, nothing's kind of crazy, right? So, very, very long story short, I started a food truck. And I went into the food truck because I wasn't confident in the food game, because I'm like, financially, I'm fucked. You know, mentally and physically, I don't even know the first thing about how to even start a business in food, right? But I knew that there was a product that was, or there was something that was missing, and I wanted to fill that void. And I did it through Nuts About Teller. And you know, the original idea was like, it was always built on art. So it was like, you know, the dessert pieces were a canvas. and the pizza's the canvas, and you're kind of like, so each kind of dessert pizza was kind of linked to a piece of artwork. You had the Mona Lisa, you had the Last Supper, and so on, right? So we became famous Nuts Batella got viral because I invented this donut burger, and it came by mistake, and I ironically called it the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
I think I only ate that burger.
Yeah.
Well, I think he posted
Yeah,
it.
sounds familiar, yeah.
And I went through a different route. So because I was in the fitness industry and I'd go to all these shows and like all the fitness shows and bodybuilding shows, when you go to these shows, there was nothing there. It was boring. So like if someone was competing, you go to support them, and afterwards you got all these guys that's just trying to sell you supplements or whatever, right? So I approached them. I said, let me put some food in here and let me just put dessert, donuts and coffee. And they were just like outrageously like, what the hell are you even talking about? I'm like, the shows are boring. Like, do you want people to actually stay around? So then that kind of like, I got popular through the fitness community before anything. And that was what I wanted, because I was like involved in the fitness community, and I was like, this is a cheat meal. This is my target market. And then I got to the point where it kind of just started blowing off, and people started thinking that, this Nuts Batella thing is this massive corporation and dessert bar, whatever. Anyway, that then transpired when I got offered a store inside the university, and they wanted the whole hype of Nuts Batella inside the university, and I was like, it's not a bad idea, because now I'm going to my market. So most of my market then switched to the younger demographic. So rather than coming to me, then I was actually just going straight to them. And that's when that became another, realm of like popularity amongst a different crowd. And I think the first 2 weeks I was at La Trobe University in Bundoora, and people that have been following me from the beginning would know this, I saw that this isn't going to be something that's going to last.
As in Nuts Batella?
Not so being in that environment.
Okay.
Yeah. So like who would come to Nuts Batella at 11 o'clock in the morning to get a massive donut burger?
What were the store hours like?
7 till sometimes 9 and 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. So I was like, because I was selling coffee there. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta get. So then it took me a couple of weeks, and like I'm a pretty quick learner, and it took me a couple of weeks to be like, I'm not a coffee shop, because all the other coffee shops are busy, and when it's during the money rush, people just coming to me because they're waiting in line, right? I'm not a dessert bar, but I am, but I'm not, because it's inside the university. It's like which person's going to go there, right? And so I formulated the idea to do, to serve burgers. And this was kind of just before burgers started getting a little bit crazy. And I approached university and I said, listen, I kind of want to do burgers. And they were like, no, we got you here because of Nuts Batella. I said, I'll keep Nuts Batella. The dessert can be there, but I don't think I'm going to last here. Like, the only person the only party that's benefiting from this experience is you guys. But in 6 months' time, I'll be behind rent. I'm not going to be able to pay my staff, pay my bills, because it's not, the sales weren't there, And, it got to the point where I put my foot down and I said to, some of these guys, some of these corporate guys I've never really dealt with before, and I didn't know how to take it. I said, come in on Friday. I'll send you like a burger menu out. Choose what you want. Tell me what you want. Come in on Friday. It'll be served for you. You tell me what you guys think. Friday came, and before that, I was like, what am I going to do? I've never even made a burger in my life. So I'm just, like, again, it goes back to my original, kind of way that I got involved in food. It was just trial and error. And, I was picking up some things that my mum that taught me, and, you know, being around food and food's a big thing in our, you know, in our culture, you know, like if you ever go to a wedding, what's the first thing people will always talk about? The food, right? If the food's bad, it was a wedding. If the food's good, it's mad. So when these corporate guys came in to have burgers, during that whole process, I was thinking about what can I start up as a burger, kind of like going through a cheeseburger and everything, and going on the path of like, what can I call the burgers? So then I was kind of at home brainstorming, listening to Kanye, you know, which is where I get a lot of my inspiration from. And then I was like, these songs are connecting with what the burgers are. And me being inside the university, having a college dropout involved, it's kind of funny, right? So everything just started making sense. Like the chicken burger will be Gold Digger, and then, you know, there'll be another burger that'll be called Gorgeous, which is a Kanye song. You know, the vegetarian option will be Heartless, and it just kept snowballing, right? And these guys came in, they're all what they want, and they were just like, we do need these here. And then that was the birth of College Dropout, and that's where it started from. And they wouldn't let me continue to kind of call or rename the shop College Dropout at that time, so it had to be called Nuts About Teller. It was like a dessert bar selling burgers. But because I was so dedicated on the craft and trying to get things out, we just became known for burgers.
I was just going to say, like, I've noticed that with everything you do, representation is something that's really important to you, and finding an identity. So I've noticed that
100%.
Let's say with your logos and with your food, you make sure that it always tracks back to where you got the representation, like where you got the idea from. And you always, like, at least talking to us, you always tell us the origin of that specific item. Is there a reason why, like, you feel so passionately about making sure people know that, hey, this came from here, this is what inspires me, this is why I'm heading in this direction?
Yeah, I mean, to put it frank, man, like, I'm the biggest overthinker there is, and I overthink everything. Like, if I'm putting out a logo that just has words, it has to be a particular font, color, style, shadow here and there, and like, even if I'm putting up a like an Instagram post, and I'm doing it in front of my wife, and I'm like doing specific things, she'd be like, who gives it? No one's gonna care. I'm like, but I care. So I always pay attention to detail, and I like, you know, giving credit where it's due. Like, I wanted people to know that I was inspired by Kanye. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm copying his shit. Look, that's the easy part, right? To copy someone.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, the goal was to always make the emotional connection. And I guess, you know, in my eyes, it's always about the emotional connection with everything. You know, when, like, you got music, you got movies, what's the next emotional connection that people have with things? It's food.
Yeah.
And I was trying to, you know, it's super hard to do this, and only like institutional places can do this, you know, where you've got like a prominent chef or someone that's involved that's come up with a particular, you know, concept. But I was trying to, you know, show the importance or the overall importance of what, you know, Kanye's music meant to me. And I was happy to channel that through anything that I was going to bring out creatively, to give credit to it.
Not only that, you could have, like, to avoid everything, you could have just went parodies of everything.
100%.
Easily, and that would have avoided everything. And it would have still been in the same lane. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. But for me, it was to show my growth. And the growth was, I am a college dropout. And I'm dropping out of the university to open up in Ivanhoe. Literally dropping out of college to open up this burger store that I was so afraid to do out in the open, in the public. It was good hiding inside the university, right? Where no one could critique you and no one could give you, you know, like, you know, not to discredit them, but some of these young kids wouldn't go out of their way to write a Google review, right? Whereas when you're out in the public and you're on the main road and people driving past and they start trying you, then that's when people can critique you, you know, and that's what I was afraid of the most. So I guess, you know, having the name College Dropout, and having, you know, Kanye West, you know, attached in some ways to what the concept was my safety net. Like that was my safety blanket. As in, like, if people don't like my food, they're gonna like Kanye, you know. And I was just like, if it flops, well, I guess they still like Kanye. Do you know what I mean? Like that's where it was. And it took me, you know, a while to kind of realize that, you know, especially when I opened up Ivanhoe, when I first opened up the doors, that people weren't there for the people in Ivanhoe weren't there for Kanye anymore. It was just more about the food and the experience and the burgers. And people just don't, like, some people don't overthink the way I do. Well, no one cares about what this bear represents or what the song name or what, you know, this burger's on it. As long as it tastes good and they can take it back to their home and, you know, and share it with their family and whatnot. That's what was important.
Do you feel that that was part of building your own identity aside from it being about Kanye and
so with with like Nuts About Tallow, right? I used to hide behind the Mona Lisa, right? And anyone that's seen the logo, it's, you know, it's the Mona Lisa, and she's got like Nutella in her mouth and that type of thing. So that was a parody side of things, yeah. So, you know, and then I was always, you know, super like insecure that people would want to see me or that I was behind something, because I consider myself as a nobody at the time. And so I would hide behind logos and brands. Like, I'd build creative stuff, and I've done things for friends and that, and help them in some ways. And like, I was happy that people were just connecting with it, right? And so to have me as front center, like, is what most people wish they had, and I didn't want that at all. So when kind of everything came out with, you know, Kanye's legal team reached out and sent me a cease and desist, and kind of went down that road, I knew that I had to face my fears, because I didn't want people to think that some person's going to hide behind this and it's just going to get swept under the rug. I wanted to take accountability for it. I wanted to put myself out there, which was super fucking hard for me to do. I mean, I think we touched bases on this, man. Like, when I grew up, like, I had a lot of hard times, like, you know, just communicating and talking. Like, this is probably the first time I'm going to say this publicly, but I grew up not talking well, and I would stutter a lot. And even just talking about it now, like, I'm feeling those butterflies in my stomach, and just that overall, like, that nervousness and that anxiousness, man, like the sweaty palms and the thing, you know, like that feeling where you just like, these people are going to, like, everyone's looking at me, like, I need to be able to say something, and
we'll look away.
Nah, I mean, I'm kind of complacent with it now. Like, I'm good with it now.
It's good, man. But we all have like I know it was like something like that is like even troublesome at school. Like, you got the kids bullying, man, and all that. So even adults bullying.
Bro, it's part of the reason why I became a college dropout. I mean, when people know the person I am, they're like, oh, this guy's actually quite intelligent. And the subjects that I pursued was like, you know, it didn't marry into the person that I was showing people who I was through the way I talked, right? And by the way, whoever invented the word stutter, fucked up. That's the hardest word for a stutterer to actually say. And it's like, fuck you. You could have come up with another word like, you know, pop. Would have been so much easier to say. But anyway, yeah, going through that process, and like, I used to be so, like, I fucking hated it, man, right? And, you know, like, I get emotional when I look back on some of the times, because there were so many times I'd be sitting in class and I'd know the answer, and I'd be too scared to put my hand up and say the answer. And it's like, I'm looking around at everyone like, how does anyone not know this? And I'm like, I know the fucking answer, and I'm too scared to even fucking talk. And that affected, you know, some of the decisions I made through, you know, after high school and stuff. You know, like, I still remember the day when a couple of friends were telling me that there was a job vacancy at KFC out in Coburg, and I went there. I sat in front of the manager, couldn't even say a word. And that was the point where I broke down, and I was like 15, 14 at the time. I was just like, how the fuck am I going to move forward in life if I can't even get a job at KFC? Right? So it took me so long to kind of, build up the courage to be like, everyone's got their flaws, man. And this was a big driving factor for me to be like, how can I use this to grow to better myself, or to actually just, be considered normal?
So was KFC specifically that timeline? Was that around the time frame that you had that epiphany?
No. I was young then, man. Like, I had no interest in food at all.
Oh, not in that sense. In the sense of where you were with that.
Yeah. I mean, because like, when you get to your teenage years, you're like, and there's all this pressure of high school, and then you start going, you go through puberty and all these different things, and then they kind of scare you in school to be like, oh, you better be doing good in your grades, and you go through this process, and you're like, okay, well, now when I finish school, I look for a job and choose a career and all these things, and I was just like, I just want to make money, right?
Yeah.
And I went to KFC, and that was the epiphany of like, I don't think I'm going to be fucking normal. Like, I'm literally can't even get a job, and some of the dumbest fucks are out there in KFC working, and some of them are my mates, and I'm like, what the fuck are you getting this job? And I'm just sitting here like a fucking idiot, can't even answer simple questions to this lady interviewing me. And the worst part is, like, I've learned the craft of picking up on people because I stutter, because I'm looking for that person's response based on how I'm going to feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So psychological
Bro,
aspect to it, yeah.
Someone sits in front of me, and this is the biggest thing with, with Kode, man. When I first met him, I picked up on so much on him that I saw in me, and we've briefly kind of spoken about some things, man, and I was just like, this is what's going on in your mind, this is what's going on, and he was like, bro, like, me and you are so similar. And then, and it came to the point where, like, we both grew up differently. He went down a different path, but I understood exactly what he was going through. And I think that's why people tend to kind of come towards me, because they know that I'm going to see something that they're too afraid to say, or they're too afraid to admit. And, being a person that grew up, with speech issues, man, it kind of affected, girls you would date, going out with your mates, walk into a place and asking for something, so it was always
second guessing, basically,
man. Like, so that was the epiphany, and I still remember the day when I was like, you had to find other ways to communicate. So I was forced to communicate without talking.
I think that's the beautiful thing about what people would view as a challenging thing for going through life, right? You look at people even with autism, right? When your brain is forced to adapt in a certain way, it literally morphs you into what you've actually become. It's a beautiful thing, really.
Yeah,
as you said it's your superpower. Even though it seems like a detriment, even though it seems like it's a negative in your life, it literally builds you. It built you to this. It built me to this. It built them to this. It's like it all, like us being confined to ourselves and fighting our demons help us battle what we're battling now. And
100%.
Well, that's actually what it is, though, right? It is literally a make or break. People break from it and don't recover, or people become something from it.
Yeah, like I think when you're trying to prove yourself to people, or prove things to yourself, I think you work harder and you're more, inclined to be more specific on what you're trying to create. And I think that's where I was with it. I was just like, and going back to what you were asking me before, like, well, why am I so like emotionally connected to things, and why do I go into so much thought into, the smallest detail? It's because I think of every aspect of how this image or burger or whatever it may be can be portrayed. And it was the same as when I used to stutter. It was like, I think of every other way of not talking. Like, do I write a fucking note and give it to the person next to me and be like, hey, tell a teacher that's a fucking answer? and be like, and that person looks good. Oh yeah, Jimmy, you're so smart. You know, no one would know that. And I'm like, bro, I just gave you the fucking answer. You know? and it was just like, you know, that was the way you kind of had to do it. And like, anyone that's kind of gone through this, and you know, now later on in life, you kind of know that like, you know, there are so many famous people that people would not even recognize to be people that have gone through similar situations as me. Like you got Kendrick Lamar, the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest lyricist, with his mouth used to stutter, right?
I didn't know that. Jesus.
Elvis Presley used to stutter. The King, right? You got Bruce Willis, who's probably one of the most accomplished actors. He also used to stutter. I don't know if you guys have seen The King's Speech before, the movie.
I haven't seen
No, I haven't
it.
seen it.
So, Queen Elizabeth's father, I believe, King George VI. I'm sure the people in the comments will probably have me for that, but I'm pretty sure he was the king and couldn't fucking talk to save his life. He used to stutter really bad. And this movie is based on the process of when he had to give arguably one of the most important speeches of our existence when World War was happening. And he had to convince his nation that we'll go on the war, you know, against the Germans or whatever. And the movie is about him having a speech pathologist or whoever he is, and he's kind of teaching him techniques and that type of thing. And when you watch that movie, even if you haven't grown up, you know, having issues with talking or anything, or know someone that's gone through that, you can see and feel the pain in his character, you know, in King George's character. And it just shows how important communicating is. You know, like I wish I grew up in this time frame where talking isn't this, man. Come on, bro. Like you don't have to fucking talk to get things, man.
Basically, yeah.
That's to meet girls and stuff. You don't have to do anything, bro. Like it's just it's crazy, man. And you know, like going full circle with things. It's like I've always kept a pretty tight circle, you know, and it was always because every time I had to go into a new realm of friends or new realm of workplace or whatever it was, I had to reintroduce myself into who I was going to portray myself as, you know. And I always had to build my own narrative of like, oh yeah, I'm Mark this, or if someone grew up with me, like, oh yeah, Mark stutters, but no one gives a fuck anymore. So my circle of friends, man, like I got, you know, so many props to them, man. Like they could have bullied me and teased the fuck out of me, whatever, man. But no one, you know, my circle of friends never gave me shit. It wasn't even talked about. Like they treated me as if I was normal. And my wife today was actually my first girlfriend in grade 6 and my first kiss in grade 6. And obviously we went our separate ways, whatever. And we came back, you know, close to 20 years later and got married. And she knew about my difficulties in speaking and that during primary school, because it was common knowledge. Like everyone knew it.
Yeah.
You know, like I couldn't hide it anymore. So I mean, she's probably my biggest, you know, cheerleader and inspiration in some ways, man. Like no matter what I'm going through, no matter what's going on, you know, she's the rock that I fucking need there. And she's also the reminder of where I used to be when I was younger. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's crazy how things work. You know, it's crazy how, you know, things marry up in some ways of the world, you know, no pun intended. But, yeah, it's just, I guess, you know, like when I first met, you know, Kode, it was just like, because I struggled with my weight as well when I was younger, right? And then it came to the point where I kind of got into personal training. So I used to emotionally get connected to some of my clients, and a lot of the things that they would be going through that I'd pick up on signs that I'd see. I'd be like, I know exactly what they're going through, and this is the way they got to build their confidence up, and to kind of be like, who gives a fuck if you go to a gym and people watching you, you know, like. I always believe that shit people will always be shit people.
Look, man, and
Right.
especially in that etiquette, right?
You
Gym
can't change a person's personality. Some people are just fucking pieces of shit.
especially in that
Right.
world, right? Like if you're going to train, if someone's overweight and at a gym and training, if your perception is bag this person, tease this person, you are never going to not
100%.
be a piece of shit. It's as
100%.
simple as that.
I mean, and that's one of the things, like, you know, with especially with Kode, and I'm sure you guys go through. You know, we've all got our own
We have, yeah. Everyone's
flaws
got
and
their own
stuff, you
demons.
know. And
Yeah.
it's almost like when I first met him or met Kode, you know, I was just like, I just saw so much of myself in him as well. And I guess if we sat down and had like an introductional talk, and me and you for the first time, it'd be exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I'd see a lot of myself in you, and that's one thing that, you know, that hardship taught me, was that I could literally put myself in other people's perspectives and in other people's shoes and be like, I understand what these people are going through, because I can emotionally connect to it. Like my emotional intelligence is probably fucking through the roof, man. Like my ability to kind of understand what someone's going through without them even having to talk is beyond me, and why I can do it. And the only thing that I can bring back to it is during my childhood. You know, that's the only thing I can think of why I'm like that.
Well, it's good. It's good to have an outlook on that, in the sense of how it got you to this point, and not just that, like you were talking about with Kendrick Lamar and whatnot, right? You look back at that now. Obviously, you didn't know that at the time when you were growing up, but your story now, if someone's watching it and has a similar issue, even if you change one person's mindset that has a similar issue, that's what it's all about, really, right?
You know,
It's
like
a whole world. Yeah.
you know, like I've always thought about, you know, like the dream for me, and it's weird to even say this, man. It's like the dream for me is to become a speech pathologist. So I'll probably get that word right before I can do it.
No, that's it.
But let's become a speech pathologist, right? And because I understand what the person's going through. And there are certain things that I do now, there's certain techniques that I do, and, you know, in some context of my communication, I do, or people sometimes complain that I mumble a lot. And mumbling stems from going through speech pathology and then teaching you techniques of linking words up together and not breaking, because when you break is when you got the highest chance of having to stutter again.
Stutter between it, yeah.
So it's always like, you know, Mark went to the park. That rhymes. But it's like Mark went to the park. So that mumble that I sometimes do
Is you just
comes from
combining a
that,
few words,
and it's just the way that I've been programmed to talk, you know. And it pisses me off sometimes. Like, oh, I can't understand what you're saying. You're mumbling. Like, you're lucky I'm fucking talking to you.
Oh, well, let's not pretend that actual mumble rap doesn't exist.
No, well, you know what, man, that was me. I'm a fucking pioneer. Where's my check? Oh,
Man, I'm like, I'm like sitting here.
Sorry if I'm talking too much.
No,
no, it's not
man,
gonna
we
say-
love it.
I'm sitting here.
Imagine you not talking.
But man, how crazy is that though?
That would be
It's
my
like now, like, I couldn't talk when I was younger. Now I want to shut the fuck up.
Hey, new lease on life, man. Why not?
Go on.
No, you're good, dude. I was gonna say, like, I'm sitting here, like, you know, just listening and smiling, because before we had this conversation, I was like, you know, talking to Kode and Sol off camera. I was saying that I would personally like to get to know that side of you that people don't get to see. You know, at the start of the pod, you were saying that you kind of felt that you hide behind, you know, let's say Kanye and stuff. You're not really putting yourself out there, but now you're talking about the real stuff.
Yeah,
100%,
And
is
this is what
You
I feel
know-
is most important, because, you know,
Bro,
Which version of Mark is this? Which one?
Hey,
This
I
is
mean,
real Mark.
let me be like just straight out here, man. My dream is to work with Kanye. All right, the burger brand and everything that came with it. You can't tell me that's not fucking creative. All right, first of all, people want to talk about, oh, he took inspiration or he copied this. Well, say whatever the fuck you want, right? But my objective was to get on Kanye's radar, and I got that in a negative way. I thought it was going to be positive. Unfortunately, at the time, it was negative. The process of that led me into a position where I felt like I was in KFC again, because the news were coming at me, and someone had to step forward And at one stage, I was looking at getting someone else to take the stage, not me. Because I'm like, I'm going to have to fucking do interviews and talk about and play this victim, which I'm fucking not, man. Right? But the news will want to portray me as a victim. Like, they'll take a whole fucking conversation that I've had about how much Kanye West inspires me. And I'll say, like, yeah, I was probably a little bit let down. And they bait you into these questions and they cut out everything but that. Right? Like, the importance of the context of what I really want people to know. And I had to step to the plate and be like, I'm not kidding, KFC again, getting interviewed. And there's cameras here now. Like, this can't just be this girl that was interviewing me is going to go away and be like, that guy couldn't fucking even say a word. And it was that. But this was going to go, on national television, and, my face was going to be out there, that. Bro, just the thought of, like, going through that again, like the first interview I did, is kind of the same feeling I had with this podcast. This is the first podcast I've done. I've been asked to do a lot of podcasts, and I'm just like, whatever. But when I met you guys, I'm like, put me down. I'm there, And when that was going on, I was like, after the first interview, it's almost like, when you kind of go through a fear and you overcome it, you'd be like, it wasn't that bad. So moving forward after that interview, I'd always imagine, and same as today, because I was like, man, I'm going to be talking on camera. You guys can record me. I was kind of communicating with Kode a bit about like what we're going to talk about, because I just want to get a heads up, being that person that's scared I'm going to stutter again,
Yeah.
So going through the kind of news fucking thing that went down, and it was just like, people are going to laugh at me because I know the news is going to show that part. They want to be like, if I fucked up and said some, like if I really spoke poorly on camera, they'd put that in straight away.
100%.
Just to show that, look at this fucking idiot. He's getting sued, but look at him, he's a fucking idiot. Right? And this guy can't even have a conversation with us about the topic. And that was my fear. That was my biggest fear, was like, it wasn't about the quality of the burgers or anything else, or even getting sued by Kanye. Bro, I didn't give a fuck. My biggest fear at that time was that I was going to be portrayed as like this person that couldn't hold a fucking sentence together, and that the team that was behind me and all my staff and all the guys that, there's a lot of people that depend on me, that if things didn't go to plan, that I couldn't support them anymore. That was my biggest fear.
And that's the sign of an actual leader, really. As soon
And
as you think about them first.
And not only that, people need to realize, even after you've won your case, you've overcome those challenges, you've overcome the news, and you're here still saying that you want to work. Your dream is to work with Kanye. So that's what people need to know. It's like, bro, that was your main objective, like, and
it still is, man.
Yeah, and that's like a passion project. That's like me chasing after Marvel, or all my life I've been wanting to work in the comic books and the stuff I grew up with, and I'm finally getting there.
How many walls did you have to break down? How many doors did you smash?
So many walls, and I did go through trials and tribulations with those with certain companies before I've actually made it. But that didn't deter me away from wanting to work with them, because I know working with them in general is the place I want to be. And the hurdles that you were going through wasn't just Kanye. It's like, it's basically the industry that follows him. Yeah, man,
there was a lot of things going through my mind at the time, and like, all I ever wanted to do was just make my family proud and the people that support me proud. I mean, that's all I literally wanted to do, right? And to kind of get the approval of Kanye, just to say, that's fucking dope. When he followed me on Instagram, in deep down, I was like, that's the approval I needed. That was it. I don't give a fuck what happens now. Kanye knows who I am. And when he started viewing all my stories, personally, like posting content, I was like, why is he watching me? And then, I'm obviously, you're saying, why is he watching me? Obviously, he's trying to fucking sue me. But, but at the same time, it's like his eyes are on me now. And I'm like, can this go down the way it went? And you know, there are certain things that, not that I can't talk about, but that I feel like, you know, to Kanye's respect, like, you know, to show him that respect of what his lawyers were asking for me and whatnot, I won't disclose that because, you know, I don't want to ruin.
You don't want to paint a bad picture.
No,
Yeah.
you know, and like I understand why he did what he did, and people were like, oh, it was his lawyers and it was his company. Look at the documents, bro. Right? It's his name against me. He personally filed a lawsuit against me in the end, right? And a part of me fucking broke when I actually saw it because I was under the impression of like everyone's in comments like, oh, this is legal team, this is a legal team. But when I actually saw the document of like Ye versus College Dropout and Mark and blah blah blah, then I was like, how fucking dare he do this, man, without even talking to me about it? Like, even understanding why I'm at this level of why I'm doing what I'm doing.
But that's what I was just intrigued about. Context now, in obviously hindsight's 2020. Does a part of you understand? Because he didn't know you, obviously, right?
Man, look, I definitely looked. For me to say, I'm like, oh, I'm shocked, bro. I knew something was going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. I believe in myself so much that I have come to the point where I know things happen for certain reasons. And to get on Kanye's radar and to go through, you know, such a negative thing, but then to have the ability to kind of transpire that into something positive, right? And not get so down about the fact that I was pretty much going to lose everything I built, you know, with not just College Dropout, but with my overall, you know, all the sacrifices I made prior and everything that's kind of led me to where I am today is just going to be gone. You know, like I can't financially compete with someone like Kanye West.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so I could potentially lose everything, man. And I guess I definitely understood why he did it, which is why I didn't go like really stupid and gimmicky with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I was playing a little bit for the media, and then when I realized the media was trying to fucking, you know, portray me to be this piece of shit dumb guy, but yet they're on my side, right? This David and Goliath story, but yet they're putting segments of me that I specifically asked them, don't put this in, and I don't want this narrative to be portrayed the way it is. And a part of me was like experimenting with this whole thing of learning from like, how do we get attention? How do we get, you know, do specific things in life to kind of learn from whatever, right? So it came to the point where I was playing with the media as much as they were playing with me. So when I went to America with my wife on a much deserved holiday.
Was it during the court case? But
no,
after?
so it was after the case got dismissed. Yeah. And during the time when it was dismissed until when I went to America, I was reaching out to the news guys. And I'm like, hey, can we paint this story that I want to go to America and meet Kanye and potentially, you know, we can resolve this matter and it's going to be a happy ending. Don't even want anything to do with it, right? In fact, some of them even ignored me to the point where like, oh yeah, you've kind of had your 5 minutes of fame. Your burger shop's known now. Just move on and deal with it. So when I went to America with my wife, and most people don't know this, but I was actually in contact with Kanye's lawyers. And I told them that I was going to be in certain, you know, in certain places on certain dates and times. And his lawyers wanted to meet me. And my lawyers are going to fucking lose it, but there was talks of a potential licensing deal, right? And people probably won't believe this story, but I've got the receipts to show it, right? There was a potential deal there on the table, and I said yes at the start, and then I turned to his lawyers and I said, you know what? I'm coming to America. I'm going to be here. I want to meet Kanye. Because he's going to be the only person that can understand exactly what is in store for what I want to do and what this licensing deal can be. And a part of me was like, this is my chance to meet him. Man, like I can use this to meet him and get in the door, and he's probably going to be, you know, like the worst person that I could ever imagine, or it could be the greatest experience of all time. I mean, they always say, like, don't meet your
heroes. Yeah.
And so when that kind of happened, and I was in America, and then he, you know, started going on this kind of different road where he started to, let's just say he expressed the way he was feeling at the time about specific individuals around him. And that caused him to go into like a hiatus, and no one could know where he was and whatever, right? So then his lawyers potentially still wanted to meet me, but then I refused, and I said, no, there's no point in meeting you guys, because you guys don't understand the context of what this creative process for me is going to be. Like, I just don't want to, you know, like an actual imprint to say we can license you to use the College Dropout name. I own the fucking name. It's my trademark, right? I don't need anyone to tell me that I can use College Dropout Burgers, because I own the trademark. And I was like, well, don't worry about it. So going back to when the media was there, I was posting some stuff on my stories just to keep, you know, things a bit fun, whatever. I was in America posting food content and where I was going and all these places I've always wanted to go to. And my wife's like, how the fuck can you eat Popeyes? And, you know, and like every single fast food outlet in 2 hours. Because I was literally trying everything. Because I was only there for a short period of time. I'm like, I want to try this, I want to try this, I want to try this. And she's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it sounds exactly like me. I did the same thing.
Like, what the hell's going on? Anyway.
That's shady.
So then, like, when I was there, I had some news reach out, and I kind of played it, and they were like, oh, why are you in America? And I'm, you know, and part of the case that was in federal court, it got dismissed. We got the judge to dismiss the case. That we were awarded all the costs of the process of the court and my lawyers and that type of stuff. So I, you know, and if anyone knows my sense of humor and my sarcasm, it's always like, Mark's is fucking random. So I just said to him, oh, I'm actually here to chase him for the money he owes me. I went to bed. You know, the time difference. Went to bed, woke up the next day, this whole thing in the paper and the news are like, Mark Elkhouri has gone to America to retrieve money from his arch nemesis and all these. It's just like, bro, you fucking up my fucking deal here. Yeah. Like, why are you talking bad about Kanye? And it was always like, you know, like, I remember when I spoke to him as well, and I said, I'm fucking with you. You know, the reason why I'm actually here is because I might actually meet him. And that was when it was still uncertain. So I was like, you know, and I explained to my wife, and this is why I fucking love her so much, man. And I said to her, listen, if at any time we're anywhere, your favorite place in New York or wherever we are, and we get the call or an email to say, Kanye's going to meet you here, I go, we're going no matter what. She's like, whatever you want, you know. And, you know, like, the lead up to it was like, this is actually going to fucking happen. Like, everything's meant to be. Came out that he, you know, that his wife now, you know, Bianca, who's probably, you know, who's a beautiful person, he's from Ivanhoe. And there's so many, like, mutual friends that we've got that, like, people that she grew up with and whatever, like, some people that I know personally. And, like, you can't even write that fucking story, man. You know, like...
It felt like fate.
And that's what it was. And I was like, all right, I'm finally here. I'm fucking in America. I'm standing in LA, like it's 9:08 LA time. Like, it's a Kanye kind of reference, man. And I'm here with my wife, and it's just like this is gonna happen. You know, like, I fucking know it. And then the media goes out and posts some bullshit, which I'm sure his lawyers went and saw and was like, look at this guy. He's fucking baiting us into some bullshit with the news, and he's gonna try and, you know. And I specifically even said to his lawyers, like, I'm not here for that shit. And and Kanye's, you know, calculated, and he's probably like, fuck this guy. Like, he's trying to set me up for something.
I was like, coming from the outside perspective, did you not say that you kind of put that story forward, even though it was in a
100%.
humorous way. It kind of
That's what I
backfired.
did. Yeah, I mean, like it backfired, but it also, so I, and this is what I was going at before. Like I was kind of experimenting with what could work and what doesn't work, right? So everything I've ever done is trial and error. So it was always like, okay, if I go down this road, and what was offered to me, and then I turned it down, was the fact that when it was based on the narrative of like I'm here to chasing for money, Channel 7 and Channel 9 and all these news outlets were wanting me on their morning shows, and I think I just got to New York at the time, and they wanted me to go in the CBS studios or NBC studios and do it straight from there. Live interview and do things like that. And then I was like, nah, I'm just going to stand in Times Square and just give you something, right? And I was planning to, and then when it got, so all the stuff I was doing, and this will probably explain how fucking corny it looked, and then I realized, nah, this isn't the go, was there was like 100% of context of what I gave them. 10% of it was me being in America chasing for money. Everything else, I was telling producers, I want this said, I want to go down this road, I want you guys to, I want you guys to help me get connected to NBC. So I goes in American television. He actually sees it, and he's like, oh, this guy's here, this guy's want to work with me. I want to ask him what the fuck he did, what he did, and I want to ask him, why'd you sue me? All these things are going through my head, right? Yeah. And it didn't go that way. And when it didn't go that way, and there was a, and some reporters fucking hate me now, and I apologize if I use you guys, to kind of paint that narrative at the time. But it looked corny, and it looked like I was actually going out there for attention. And like, I've just told you my whole childhood growing up, and I'm not here for some fucking sob story, man, but I'm telling you, like, I don't want that attention. Like that's what I've sacrificed just to be able to sit at the table with Kanye and for him to say, no, I don't want to work with you, or yes, I want to work with you.
Do you feel as though you did that because, although you didn't want the attention, at that time it started coming in so much that you kind of got, I guess, overwhelmed or blinded by it that you just wouldn't?
No, man, like, believe it or not, I'm actually pretty calculated. I strongly believe in sacrificing, and I was like, I had to sacrifice a part of my own integrity to get what I wanted in the end. And whether it was going to be this stupid narrative of like me actually, like who the fuck's going to go all the way to America, spend all this money, go on a holiday with their wife to chase Kanye for money, to get that as a headline? That's what I thought. But when I joked with it in the news, and I was like, are they that stupid to put that up?
I wouldn't say it's stupid necessarily. I just think they saw a chance at money headlines, really.
Yeah, that's
because what happened is, in a sense of intentionally or unintentionally, whatever. It's fuel for the David versus Goliath battle again.
100%. I mean, look,
and especially since you're in the same country,
bro.
Not only that, it was during the
time when the media was against him.
Kanye was hot topic.
Well, there you go. Yeah. That's even more fuel. So it's just like it's an inferno at that point.
You know what I do? I can't say I kind of regret it, but like there are parts of me that does regret this, and I hope people say, "Oh, I don't regret things." Fucking if you regret things, man. Look, you can always change things, right? And I strongly believe that point of when I said to the news that I'm here to meet Kanye, and I'm chasing for the money, whatever it was, right? That's something that I wish I could take back. Not because of what's happened and the way I looked, but only because I feel like I got to apologize to Kanye because I was using him to get attention in a negative way now.
Yeah.
So every time before that was all positive. I'm promoting his fucking music, his album's dropping, I'm putting all the fucking new songs leaking, all this type of stuff, and trying to like, not leaking illegally stuff that he's putting out in his in his listening parties. I'm doing burgers that are named after some of his new songs, and and from an outside point of view, someone's looking at that and being like, this is fucking dope. And it's also promoting him in a positive outlet. you know, in a completely different realm to what he's kind of
Oh, it's a completely different field.
the direction to what he's on. And you know, people don't know this, and you know, I sometimes overthink this a lot, and I'm like, why, and this, and what happened, and whatever. And I'm like, some people that don't know that Kanye was heavily invested into a burger chain in America called Fat Burger, and it flopped. So I look at it from another perspective, and I'm like, maybe he just doesn't want to be invested into burgers or be invested into something that's unhealthy, and because he's on this new wave where he's, you know, he's thinking that he can create a great civilization moving forward and all these type of things. So I mean, there are all these different factors, but the only person that can kind of give me that answer is probably him. You know, 100%. And that's kind of all I wanted. You know, even if it was him saying, you know, calling me up, because I kept sending him my phone number. You know, in DMs, I was talking to him in DMs, and I was like, "Here's my phone number. Call me. Every post, call me, bro. Just talk to me. What are you fucking suing me for?" Even the day when I was getting rid of the mural, when, you know, it was a smart decision to kind of block the logo at the time until things got settled and cover his mural and not change the name of the burgers into Real College Dropouts and all these type of things. It's like, that's another creative side of me that just went like that so quickly.
Yeah.
Right? That idea. So like, I'm obviously not just some like dick rider trying to get Kanye's attention and being like doing things that would upset him. And to be honest, like, I kind of, if he was taken aback from it and he was pissed off about the situation, then I'd apologize to him as a man. And I'd be like, you know what? Take the fucking trademark, take whatever you want. I'll rebrand it because I'm capable of doing whatever I want. And if things don't work out, man, like, I'm capable of going down back to ground zero and working for someone. And, you know, doing that, he definitely can't do that, right? Like, he can't go and work a normal day job ever again in his life. Whereas, like, I'm okay with that. You know, if I lose everything overnight and everything I've lost, and I got to pay all these bills and, you know, court fees and pay him damages and all these things, well, I'm fucked, right?
Yeah.
But like, I'm capable of just going out and just being a normal person again.
Would you say with the whole ordeal, in the sense of, one, your outlook on Kanye, how you view him, the whole court case and everything about it regarding it, would you say you're at peace with it? Or how it went down, all that? How it's finished? Basically, are you done with the whole topic?
No, not really, man, to be honest. Because, I come from the school of Kanye, right? And there's so many connections there. And this is like so cliche because everyone that's a Kanye fan feels like, oh, no, the Kanye. Bro, like, his mother died, my mother died, right? Straight after each other. And, you know, growing up in our household, man, like, when my mum died, God bless her soul, like, I didn't know how to act. And then someone that was really close to me, a cousin of mine, like, the day we found, like, the day my mother died, we found out that she got sick, and she was the closest person to me. And, you know, like, I think about these people every single day, right? And it's part of, you know, what led to my depression in the past, right? But when you start acting out and you start doing dumb shit and you start, you know, making decisions that aren't great, and you're in a really dark place, it becomes like addictive to be in a dark place. It becomes
a habit. It
becomes comfortable.
Yeah.
So me being in the dark room and being isolating myself, I mean, that was my comfort zone, man. And anyone that's ever gone through that will understand that. Like, that level of being comfortable in such a fucking negative, space is what led me to come out when I was ready to come out. Yeah. And be like, you know what? I'm not going to be this person anymore. And what transpired for me to become that was what Kanye was going through. Because no one else, I couldn't deal with anyone else that went through what I was going through. So when he was acting up and the whole Taylor Swift incident and he went on a hiatus and came back, I'm like, there is room to redeem yourself. You know, the people are going to love you again. And when he was acting out, okay, it's normal. Like he's grieving right now, and so am I. So, like, I got to one point where my mother passed away, my cousin passed away, and it was probably the worst time of my life, man. Right? And I got really, really like deep into depression, and it wasn't like, it's weird, like, you know, if you guys are probably going through it, you probably understand what I'm saying right now, but it wasn't depression like, it wasn't like I'm upset about what's going on. It was more so like, I got to live my life now without these people. And the heartbreak and the hurt of knowing that person's not there anymore is what led me to not want to live anymore. That's what the depression was for me. And it continued to be like I'm gonna get emotional, man. But there was at one point, man, where I was like, when my mum was sick, you know, she passed away of cancer, and my cousin passed away of cancer. And who do you turn to when there's no one around? You turn to a higher power, right? Whether you believe in God or not. And I used to literally pray that, you know, that I would take on any sicknesses that I've got. I should pray to God and give it to me, because they're such good people. And me, like, I'm just a fucking piece of shit, right? That's how I saw myself. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm this piece of shit. My mother was the best fucking person ever. And my cousin, man, she was the most amazing person that's ever been around me. And I'm like, why do they have to fucking suffer, you know? And I used to pray every single fucking night and be like, take their sickness away and give it to me. Like, I don't want to deserve to be here. So when they passed on, it wasn't, you know, like, the depression came from them. Just like the amount of heartbreak I had was what made me depressed. Yeah. And what made me so fucking down. It was thinking about them. Like, I'd be fucking driving to work, and then I'd have to pull over because I'd just be bawling my eyes out because a song would come on and it reminded me of my cousin. Yep. And, you know, like, and then you think, you know, like, I'm such an overthinker, so I'm thinking about every single thing I could have done differently. And then that becomes like your biggest fucking demon. You know, the whole grieving process is real, man. Oh, no. There are steps there, bro.
Not just that, there's no playbook how to grieve. It's so random.
So that's why I connected to Kanye so much, because I'm like, yeah, he fucked up. It's normal, you know, you can go through these things. And Kanye was so open with, you know, like his mother passing and, you know, what led to it afterwards. And that's why I connected to him. And then the depression side, like, you know, guys like Kid Cudi was probably one of the first kind of real rappers or real artists that came out and talked about depression and what he was going through. So I connected to that because I put myself in their shoes. Like, I literally used to put myself in Kanye's shoes and be like, imagine I've got the whole world at my feet and the most important passes away. The person that believed in me most, when guys like Jay-Z and these guys wouldn't even want me to be in the studio to rap with them. You know, the only person that ever believed in Kanye was his mother. And the only person that ever believed in me and that understood what I wanted to talk about was my mum. So when anyone else when I couldn't communicate to anyone else, my mum was always there, man. You know, and, you know, like, there were times when it was fucking tough, and, you know, seeing her go through what she went through, and then later on you start to piece things back and be like, whatever. So what dragged me out of that was I literally said to myself, if I did kill myself and I had a chance to come back, how would I come back? That's literally the conversation I had in my head, right? There were times when I think about how to do it. And I've never been scared of death myself, like, but I'm scared about how it's going to affect the people around me. Yep. It's the only thing that fucking kept me from doing it, man. And, you know, like, probably put a disclaimer and say if anyone does have any mental issues or that does have these thoughts, like seek help, man.
Absolutely.
Because at the time I didn't, But what got me through it was I literally felt this epiphany go through me, and I was just like, I need to be reborn. So all the fucking baggage I was holding on, even from me like being able to not even communicate and stutter and not thinking I'm capable of, being an artist or being this or being creative and not being confident in something that I've just produced for someone. Like I never had that confidence level, man. So I thought, if I died and I was to come back and continue from where I am now, how would I change it? That was a switch for me. I switched everything. And that was just like everything that I'm not capable of doing, I'm going to do. So that put a different kind of beast in me.
Yeah.
To be like, I don't know how long I'm going to be here for, but I've already died in my mind. Like when my mum and my cousin died, I died with them. You died, yeah. Bro, I literally died with them, because there was nothing else for me that I could continue forward, because I used to be like, when I get married, my cousin's going to be there. When I go through all these things I'm going to go through, she's going to be there. And the fact that she wasn't there was just, bro, it was fucked,
Well, you had a real sink or swim moment. At that point, you simply could have just really checked out in a physical sense or become what you've become. And that's what it is though, right? The problem is, as you said, right, with grieving, it's different. Thankfully, we haven't had a situation like with yours with a mother or a family member, but we lost one of our best friends June last year. And it was our first real experience. Like we've lost grandparents and stuff, but grandparents, when they're not here, they're overseas, so you're not really close. This is a best friend we saw every couple of weeks to every month, right? And we grew up with them essentially. And even till now, right? You grieve, you go through a week of understanding and not understanding, and then you're cool, you're at peace, and then randomly, the most random memories, the most random spike in your brain, all crumbling down again.
You just start crying.
Every single wall you ever thought you had up, gone. That's what it is, right?
I told you before, I like Street Fighter, right? I told you that's my favorite game. Was it a week prior?
Yeah.
It was a week. It was about a week prior. Me and him were having sessions in Street Fighter, and we said we're going to practice and get good at it. Like the new Street Fighter 6. Like he'll come to my house every week. Like I haven't touched the game since. I can't bring myself to play the game. Like it just hurts too much thinking about it.
PTSD in that sense. And that's what it is though, right? And that's the thing with grieving. That's another thing you absolutely should seek help with. If you can, with someone around you or an actual professional help, 100%. Depression and grieving go hand in hand, really, because one leads to the other.
See, like, I mean, going back to some of the questions, sorry if I'm going in like
all over the place,
man. But like, I mean, even when like you were asking me, things like, like, would I do things differently, and like in hindsight and all that type of stuff, and it's just like everything that I've gone through, like prior to me being reborn in some way, right, is that like epiphany that some people just haven't gone through yet. Everything before that, the Kanye saw me and all these different aspects of life that go through, bro, nothing even compares to the hurt that I felt. Nothing can compare anything to that hurt, So all these things that were going on when I was getting sued and all this bullshit going on, like, meant nothing to me because I had been at my lowest point and I've felt the worst that someone could ever feel. So anything that ever happens now, it's just like I'm prepared for it and I can handle it even better.
You can conquer it, yeah.
And it's made me stronger. And that's why I'm just like I've got a pretty thick skin, man. And people can say whatever the f they want about me, and I'm just like, so what?
It is what it is. Yeah, pretty much.
Like I'm surrounded by three guys that are just so different in so many ways, but yet you guys come together as a circle of friends, and I don't think anyone's success will be the same without each other.
Yeah. And that's what your circle needs to be, right? Everyone needs to better everyone. If there's one broken link, that link's got to go. It's as simple as that.
And
unless you can save that link, because it's worth saving. Yeah, that's the only.
You know, and there are still times now, man, where like I still go through, like there are certain times throughout the year, like when it's an anniversary, when they've passed, or birthdays and stuff, or you know, then of the year with Christmas and New Year's kind of come up, and everyone kind of spends time together. Those are the worst times of my life right now, or during the year, because I'm just like, it's a consistent reminder of what I've missed. But then you just have to switch.
That's what I was about to say. Do you think you'll ever get to a point where it becomes from a sadness sense to a thankful sense that you had them?
I think you need to be able to. It gets to a point where you convert the grieving into you remember the times, the moments.
That's what I'm saying.
Make you
into
happy.
a thankful sense.
One major thing that I do put forward is like, it's probably one of my favorite Kanye songs, and it's Never Let Me Down. And he sings on the same, it's on his College Dropout album, and he sings on the same verse as Jay-Z. And Jay-Z is arguably one of the best rappers of all time, but I reckon Kanye kills him in this song. And he's got one line in it where he's like, I know I got angels watching me from the other side. And that's what I put forward. I'm like, you know what? The hurt of them not being here, and the hurt of them not guiding me and all these things, but I know they're fucking there. Because everything that's happened after they've passed, bro, I can't explain some shit that's happened specifically. It's like, that can't be a coincidence, man. There has to be someone there. There has to be somewhere, some place where people are having influences over our lives and that are guiding us in certain ways. You know, and you know, you like the friend that you lost, like God bless his soul, man. Yeah. The whole thing in the back of your mind is, I guarantee you, he's pulling strings somehow. He's doing things to you guys that you guys probably don't even understand yet, and you might come to a realization later on.
It'll click, yeah.
And it might take you to play Street Fighter again to realize that.
Yeah, he's right.
Like, go down that track, do it on your own if you have to, or do it with one of the boys that share the same feeling as you, that same connection. But don't ever let the happiness of that moment, because I've done that so many times, man, and we take the happiness of that moment and you discourage it from never being happy again. Bro, that's going to be the reminder of making you happy about.
I will eventually get back into it. It's just too fresh right now.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're going to have to do it in your own time and when you're ready to do it, you know. And
I'll play the song Through the Wire by Kanye.
That's a great song.
That's the best song. That's his best song.
That's a great song.
That's his best song for me.
It's a great song, you know.
For me, it resonates with me. That's
yeah. Was that post his mother's death?
That was before.
What's that? Through the Wire.
Yeah. Through the Wire.
No. Yeah.
Before.
That was on the
that
was his first breakout song.
Yeah.
You know. I really hope Kanye heads and Kanye fans will watch this, because there's one kind of conspiracy. I wouldn't call it a conspiracy, but it's one theory that I've got, right? Is that Kanye is the greatest performance artist ever. The greatest performance actor ever.
Don't you think it's risky to be acting at this point in time? Like, what's this society right now? Like, I think it is.
If you compare him to like Andy Kaufman and these kind of figures, right, that test people's emotions and test and do things like trial and error to see how people react to things, which is one of the reasons why I did what I did in the media, right? Was because I was just testing the waters to see how far can I take this.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's exciting.
The thrill of it, yeah.
And it's exciting to be like, can I bait people into thinking this in a certain way, but I actually want them to think this later on, right? So I'm just planting the seed, but I kind of have to get recognized in some way, which comes down to the sacrifice again of being able to be like, I need to get recognized in order to go and put myself out there, right?
Yeah.
So I really, really believe that Kanye West already knows the outcome of what his future is going to be, because he creates his own narrative. As in, like, he is amazing, and he's a genius at acting into a role that he wants to portray himself and create a narrative for himself on his next album or in the future. And if you look back on his past and every album he's ever done, every album is always different. Every album's got a different context. Every album's got a different inspiration behind it, and that's why I think he's still relevant with the younger kids today. Like which rapper or which artist in general do you know at his time frame when he first came out is still relevant with the youth? And the most ironic thing ever is Kanye's, he has a cheat code, man. And I reckon his cheat code is through the way he acts and wants you to believe what he's going through. And one of his cheat codes, and I've seen his firsthand, and it's like when his news broke out and you got Kanye fan pages that are posting everything, like Kanye was seen buying a coffee here or eating the ice cream there or taking shit here, and they post everything, every single thing that he does. And then when you start to get inside of what's really going on, Kanye controls his fan pages' social media through himself.
Because he leaks what leaks out there.
I don't want to speculate here, but I can say that he's got a team that send all these major fan pages stuff that put out narratives of what's going on or what he wants people to do. So he's controlling his own news, his own media, because the media is fucking bashing for so long, right? So what's he going to say? Well, maybe I should create my own kind of media outlet to get what I want to get out, which is what I felt when, you know, the news was coming at me saying what's going on, and I was saying, no, I want to talk about this, and like, no, don't talk about that, let's talk about this. So, and if that's at my level, at the smallest level possible, can you imagine what his level's at?
I mean, so we know his ex's family empire does that, right? The Kardashians do that with I mean, they have paparazzi that they send out.
Yeah, they got branded paparazzi.
But you see,
like they work for the.
I mean, it's
what I'm saying though is like if you look at some of the people that run some of the fan pages and that comment on the fan stuff, bro, they're like kids, man. 15, 16-year-olds, right?
Fan pages are usually run by young people.
And not all of them, but there are some. And I'm probably a little bit more, I'm probably too straight out sometimes, man. And I went to a couple of these pages that were following me and that I was communicating with about, because I'm a fan. So we're talking to each other like, what do you think his next album's going to be like? And we're talking about who's going to feature. And we're having like Kanye nerd conversations, right?
Yeah.
And when all the news started breaking out, and some of these people I even met in person, man, right? I've got their personal details. I know them personally, and I know that if their personal, if people actually knew who it was, people probably wouldn't follow him anymore, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I asked them the question. A couple of them, I said, why haven't you posted about me? Like it's in every fucking news outlet in the world, man. Right? It was like GQ magazine, France, Vietnam, and all these other countries, and Europe and things. People send me different stuff in Brazil, and people. I'm getting tagged in everything, man. If you search up my name, Mark Elkhouri or College Dropout Burgers, bro, the amount of articles and re-articles and re-shares is beyond my fucking expectations of what I thought was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So then I asked them, why haven't you even posted about me? And one of them said to me, well, nobody cares. And then I laughed at him and I said, okay. 2 months later, he came to me he tried to get some information from me. He was trying to be a mate with me again. I said, well, what are you asking me for? Nobody cares. And then some of the other pages, because in the beginning to get in the Kanye community, I was tagging these guys and communicating with these guys because I'm a fan, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm even, talking to some of Kanye's people, man. Like, the success of Kanye West is not Kanye West. Kanye West has got a great team behind him, right? He builds his narratives of what he wants this project to be, right? And he acts it out in real time. In like he wants his next project to be about his mother, right? So his last main album was about his mother, and he named it after her and all these type of things, right? And he acted throughout the whole thing, and not in like a malicious way, like in a great devoting way to his mother, right? And it wasn't anything bad. But if you look at what he did with it and where he went with it, like I learned so much from just watching that play out, right? So during that time, there was, he's got a group of writers, right? And he, there's stories of some of these writers, and some of his writers and artists are like probably one of my favorite. I actually favor them more than Kanye sometimes. On if you're talking about songs, like Sahai the Prince is one of his probably profound writers of most of his hits and most of his songs and most of his quirky kind of lines and that type of stuff. And then a couple of other guys that I don't want to mention because I've spoken to them personally. I don't want to put them kind of out there, but I was speaking to some of the other writers that were involved and asked them questions and stuff, and they were getting back to me. And before I got a cease and desist, they were asking me some weird questions. So Kanye watches the smallest things going around, man. Look, he's always on Reddit. He cares about what people are talking about. This is why his last few albums, when he slowly transitions and brings them out, like his album that should have been released 2 months ago, Vultures, still hasn't been released. He puts out certain things, sees how people react to it. He goes on the forums, see what people are saying about the songs, and he'll make the adjustments that he kind of wants, yeah. And
I was gonna say not to discredit Kanye, but I feel like that's just, I guess, social media and humans these days. Everyone is trying to create their own narrative.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, though.
No, it's not. I'm just saying, but I mean in the sense that like.
Are you talking about him releasing stuff, or
no? Just in general, how he's saying like he controls a lot of what he does. He's watching a lot of what he does, creating his own narrative.
Well,
he's doing it at a higher scale to a lot of people.
Like,
but
for me, I feel like he's chasing perfection, but the way he's doing it is by delay. Like he'll put something out there, see what's wrong with it, and fix it before he releases it.
It's funny you say that, man, because the biggest, or one of my cheat codes to getting people to like my food so much sometimes is I like to let them wait. And you like to delay things because they want it even more. And it means so much more when you've been waiting for it to a point. You got to kind of get that fine line between when someone's really pissed off at you and when, when that person's going to walk out of your shop and be like, that's it, I'm fucking waiting 20 minutes, half an hour for a fucking burger. Get out of here. It's not worth it. You got to find that fine line.
See, I kind of do the same. Yeah. Like with my social networks, I don't think you guys notice it, but it's like
it's teasing
if I'm not sure about a piece, I put it on my Facebook first. I'll see what the comments are like, what the base feedback is. Then I throw it on Twitter. Then if it does good on Twitter, then I put it on Instagram.
That's one of my strategies as well of using stories. Yeah. Put a thing out and see how many people react to it and stuff, and I really believe that, a lot of these fan pages are doing exactly what I'm fucking trying to do.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, right? 100%. All they want is to meet Kanye.
They're motherfuckers, though. You know why? Because when I'm selling...
You're going to attack us.
I'll tell you why. No, fuck them all, man. Don't follow me. I don't give a fuck. When shit was going down, man, and I was getting all this scrutiny, this scrutiny of like, it's not creative, or you're not this, you're not that, and whatever. And some of these guys are selling their own merch connected to Kanye.
Kanye, yeah, 100%.
And posting stuff or posting like things that they want people to gravitate towards them. And I'm like, motherfucker, like,
see,
you post content every single day about him. People are going to follow you because they want to see Kanye content.
Kanye. Yeah.
And you're trying to sell content for yourself. And like, bro, like I'll sit here today and I'll say, if Kanye called right now and said, give me back everything, if you want to work for me, I'll sacrifice all of it. Because I'll be like, because I know I can do it again.
Yeah.
I became viral with Nuts About Teller and the dessert burger.
I was literally going to ask you if you were, like, say in some world, Kanye West likes our podcast and watches it, which he probably does. Who knows? But
he definitely will.
If he watches this, is there something you want to tell him? Tell him? Like anything? I mean, this is the platform to directly speak to him if he's watching.
You can't put me on the spot. I mean, look, I've kind of thought, look, I definitely have thought about this a lot. One thing I wouldn't do is be like, oh, Kanye, I love you. So like, because he'd be like, fuck off, you weirdo, right?
I will tell you not to do that.
So, but most people do that because they don't know how to act.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know how to act when they're put in that position when you look up to someone so much, right?
Yeah. But there was always a thing you wanted to say to him, but you never got to him.
The first thing I would say to him is like, thank you for saving my life. Straight out. You know, like there are certain songs and lyrics, man, that I'd hear that literally like put me in a way of like thank you. You know, everything that you've done, like you've put yourself in the media. The media's, you know, made you look, you know, to make yourself look crazy and to be called and to be put in that conversation of like, you're not what you are, right? And to go through, like, it means everything to me. You know, like the amount of sacrifices that he's had to make, you know, to me, just that small little part, that one bar that he's got in one song that made me just turn and be like, this is it, right? That gave me the confidence, right? Like, literally the first thing I'll be like is say thank you, you know? And nothing I can say or do, and a part of my brand, College Dropout Burgers, was to be thank you. Like that was initially the only thing that I wanted to kind of, for him to kind of understand what I was doing, and be like, you know what, that specific line or that verse that you dropped, this is a fucking burger now. You know, like this is somehow connected to whatever it may be, you know, and that's, I guess, you know, someone can ask a question and be like, well, what work would you actually do for him? Bro, I'm a fucking chameleon. I can tap into any industry I can and industry I want because I've got the emotional intelligence to put myself in any situation. You know, if I spent a week with you, and this is the confidence level that comes from Kanye behind me, man, right? If I spent a week with any of you guys to be like, hey, man, we've got this project that Marvel wants us to work on and whatever, blah, blah, and I spent a week with you, you'd be surprised at what I can bring to the table.
Well, I can't believe that because the thing is, a lot of people will say, oh, he's just talking. He's just saying whatever. But the thing, when you grasp the concept that you have this successful college dropout burger joint and you don't even come from a food background and you didn't even want to be in the food background, it's like, and you're there because you dedicated yourself to it.
This is why I'm kind of hated in the world of like the chef community and stuff, because I'm not your traditional chef. I don't turn to my staff and my team and be like, refer to me as Chef Mark. You know, try and downplay him to show my authority. Fuck that.
Yes, chef.
Call me, you know, like call me whatever you like. But I understand certain things that people have trouble understand at first, and it goes back to the thing is like, once you go and do it, and the same with you, bro. Like, once you put something out there, and people be like, I could have thought of that. Well, why didn't you?
Yeah.
It's not even that. It's not even why didn't you think of that? Why didn't you act on it?
Why didn't you do it? Right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a number of factors of why. But, you know, like there's a Jay-Z line where he's like, you know, motherfuckers saying they made Hove. Okay, so make another Hove. As in like, you think you made me? Well, then make another Ho.
Recreate me.
Like make another Jay-Z,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And there hasn't been another Jay-Z since. Jay-Z. And it's the same as Kanye. Bro, like, part of the rant that I gave in Brunswick when I first opened the store was being in the food industry, man, from coming from the outside in and being around all these people that I kind of consider friends now and associates now, and, you know, guys that I super respect in the industry, and some of them I actually invited to come. You know, some of them are like my opposition in some ways, right? And I invite them to come because I want them to be part of something special, and I want to give them credit, right? And a few of these guys were present, and, you know, there was a time when I was doing that, and I even praised you for coming, and I knew, and that's the first initial time when I picked up on exactly the person that you are.
Why, by putting me on the spot?
Because I put you on the spot.
What for? That was just
And-
that was just evil.
But it was like I wanted people to know who the fuck you were, because everyone knows your work, man.
Yeah.
But no one knows the personal side of you, and it's exactly what you've been asking me this whole time. People know what he's done, but no one actually knows he's part of me. And that's what, like, you know, like, you can't sit here and listen to everything I'm saying without acknowledging that, bro. Like, bro, people love the person you are, and I was thrilled to have you a part of what I was there for, even if you got nothing to do with the food industry, but you're an artist, and I'm there as a creative and an artist in my own way, being like, I want you to appreciate this art.
I wanted to go back to something you said though. The deal you said you'd make with Kanye about taking everything.
Bro, take it all.
But do you not think you've outgrown the Kanye look and you've become you? That's what I mean. Like,
100%.
but wouldn't you be giving up you now?
No.
Yeah, I think I'm with him.
Yeah,
if you had to give up College Dropout now, I associate College Dropout with Kanye just in general, but I don't.
It's your burgers.
I don't associate it anymore.
No, look, I completely agree with you, but this is the way I've grown up, and this is the loyalty I show to people. Like, I'm still gonna, like, doesn't matter how or where College Dropout ends up, the origin is always there, and I'll always highlight the origin. Like, I think I mentioned to you, man, like, the whole bear logo that I created, right? Or that I recreated. Shout out to Ash.K, who's a tattoo artist now, right? That originally I commissioned work for, right? So there was a Mona Lisa that I wanted to do as a dope piece of art that he used to draw, like, as, you know, with like a pencil, right? So he's sketching, he's fucking amazing, and now he's transitioned into tattoo, right? I sent him a DM and I said, I need you to help me recreate the College Dropout bear so people can reference to it, but I want it to be in the design of Jean-Michel Basquiat, which is another artist that I fucking love, right? And I wanted to include the Jean-Michel crown in the logo. And I was so fucking pissed off that people didn't acknowledge the crown. That was just about Kanye. And that really fucking upset me, because I think from a visual perspective, Jean-Michel Basquiat is a better artist than Kanye. And Kanye knows that. And where street culture and pop culture was made famous by Jean-Michel Basquiat, a guy like him, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves. He also used to stutter. You see some of his old interviews, I can relate to exactly what he's gone through when people ask him questions, and people see him as weird and whatever and whatnot, you know. And another reason why the crown was there was because at the time I owned a bulldog that I gave to my wife as a gift when I proposed to her, and his name was King. And, you know, he passed away a year ago. You know, he died under, like, really unusual circumstances, and I fucking miss him dearly. And it's crazy when you say, like, I miss a dog, man, but, like, in some ways, you know, if I didn't have my wife there and if she didn't have me there, I think we both would have folded, right? Because losing him was so, you know, shocking and whatever. But anyway, going back to why the crown was there was for that reason. And the logo and the stuff, like, I could have made it look exactly like Kanye's thing, but I wanted it to be different. But I wanted it to be different in the way of like his art was seen, or the bear was always seen as like the image of, you know, a college dropout bear, right? And I wanted it to be a piece of art form, and I wanted an identity, because I was too scared to put my own face behind the brand at the time. So I was going to hide behind Kanye, and I was going to hide behind the bear. Yeah. And since then, I've redesigned the bear myself, and I've kind of sketched it out to the point where, you know, I still want people to reference it, but it doesn't look like it's a Kanye West bear in some ways.
Yeah.
I was going to say, from an outside perspective, you know, well, a lot of the stuff you do, like I said before, has a lot of representation. For me, not being as knowledgeable about the industry as you are, looking at the crown, I would not recognize the reference there as a lot of other people do.
Yeah,
but that's what I think is really beautiful about your craft, because you care so much about it. That's why I believe when people get to know you as a person, that's when they can really appreciate those
and
sort of
relate.
things.
Yeah. So, you know, like everything I always do, it's never like, I never want things to be so recognizable. Like, I always do it for the people that can appreciate it. So anyone watching this that knows art and knows history of art and knows exactly who Jean-Michel Basquiat is, you know, hip hop in some ways wouldn't even be hip hop itself without guys like him, right? You know, Jay-Z and these guys own some of his artwork in his house that are worth millions of dollars, right? So when that one person sees it and appreciates it, and it's like, it's dope, right? That's all I care about sometimes.
And
just that one person that recognizes it, and I'm like, yes, someone's on my level.
Yeah,
someone's a nerd like me. You know?
I'll say you're doing an amazing job at everything you're doing, and I kind of want to go back to the conversation from a while back. I don't know if you've ever had the time to take a step back and just be proud of how far you've come in terms of all the hardships, and everyone in this room. I think, you know, everyone goes through a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of the viewers would relate to a lot of the things you talk about. Like you said, you haven't really done a podcast, you haven't really spoken about your emotional side as much, but there's people out there that I'm sure would really have appreciated everything you've talked
your
about
human
today.
side.
100%.
Yeah. Put your robotic side down, your
And,
armor down, just like.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I wanted to dive back 10 conversations ago. Basically,
if you notice, all my conversations are like Kanye West's conversations. Just go from here and they go everywhere. It's just
I got fixated on the university timeline. So at that point, when you made the choice of burgers, was the first question, there's two questions, was the burger option financial survival instinct, in the sense of the company at the time, not about Teller?
It was both. So I started in the food truck.
Yeah.
And the university invited me. They were doing some trials during the week on a Wednesday lunch, and I wanted to have some food trucks because students were complaining that the food at the uni was shit. So I got invited personally by one of the person that was running the retail precinct, and you know, like, I give him all my fucking credit, right? This guy, Simon Minos, is a guy that knew exactly what the fuck I was, right?
Yeah.
And was like, this guy's just so fucking like different that it has to work, right? And it was weird because I was originally there as a food truck, didn't make any money, went there, traded, didn't make any money. And the conversation that came back to me, or the report back was, we posted about you being here, and our social media has never ever gone through that experience of like the amount of people commenting, and the engagement was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they're like, we want you back. And I was just like, fuck, I'm gonna go back and then make no money again. So I kept going back, and then there was a store that came up, and he was like, look, you've been so popular on campus, and blah, blah, blah. I want to do something different. I know you're different, blah, blah, blah. Let's give you a pop-up to take over this space. And at the time, I was like, I got a food truck. I don't even have a fucking kitchen to be prepping stuff. You know, most of the stuff I was just doing in the food truck or at events. I tried to downplay things that I was doing because I didn't have the like the resources to try and grow from a food truck. So I'm like, okay, I can use it. I walked in, I saw the kitchen. I'm like, I can use this to my advantage. When I got there, within the first week I was there, I observed the whole uni, and I was like, what's missing here? And it's funny enough, originally I actually wanted to do pizza by the slice. And
New York style?
Yeah, New York style. And this is like going back 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
And the feedback I got was, no, there's actually a place upstairs that does pizza. You can't do pizza. I'm like, okay. No one kind of really attacked burgers at the time. We're still on the verge of like when, you know, burgers weren't really, you know, crazy the way it is now. So that's when I put it out there and I said, I want to do burgers. And that thought process was survival. And to be honest, like I went into it as a pop-up only because I was scared I was going to fail. Like the store that they wanted me to go into, they were like, we can give you a 1 year lease. I said, no, let's just do month by month. Because if I fail, then I can go, okay, well, we just finished our pop-up at whatever and we're off to somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what it was. And, you know, and I kind of had to, you know, do some alternative things to kind of get to where I am now.
Yeah.
And one of them was going into a university to build a brand. No one's who's going to think of that? Which franchise, you know, going, okay, let's build a brand that's going to be popular. Let's go into a university.
But that goes to my next question. How the hell did you go from having absolutely zero ideas about burgers to creating these amazing things? Shady, put photos where I'm doing my hands.
I'm not going to do it just so you can go like this.
I mean, exactly what I was saying to you before, man. Like, I have the ability to take a moment to be like, and once I understand the basics of things, then I can go, okay, this is how it's going down, right?
Did you at least have a rough idea of making burgers? Nothing?
No, bro. When I first had the conversation with the uni, I said, I want to do burgers. And they looked at me like, but no one knows you for burgers. And I literally said to them, I want people to know me for burgers. And walked off. Like some Kanye man, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to prove these guys wrong. Like, who are they to tell me I can't do it? And that's what it was in my head. And that gravitates even more so. So, I mean, like, people don't read negative comments or want negative feedback. But I fucking love it. You know? Bring me all the smoke. Like, because I want people to be like, you can't do this. And I'll be like, but I can. Yeah. And I'm so fucking stubborn that I'll do anything to make it happen, bro. Like seriously, man, a true artist is willing to die for his fucking art. Yep, absolutely. Right? He's willing to put everything on the fucking line to do it. That's all I honestly believe in. You know, if you're an artist and you call yourself an artist, you're willing to believe in your product and your craft so much so that there's nothing left. And that's what I did. And that's what I'm sure you did too.
I did, and a bunch of people that are watching us will in the future do the same thing.
I'm gonna go on record while I look directly at the camera. Mark's fried chicken burgers are better than KFC, and his beef burgers are better than every other fast food
that is true. He'll deny it because he's humble and modest, but it's like they are.
Yeah, I mean,
talk your shit, man. Talk your shit.
The meat ones are dangerous because they go down so easy. So it's like, yeah, it's dangerous in the sense that I would eat so many of them.
Order the Genius Burger.
Oh yeah, Genius Burger. I've tried almost everything on the menu. Genius Burgers, my favorite personally. If
you're like indecisive and don't know if you like chicken or beef, just go to the College Dropout. That's the one. Yeah, that's beef.
How the fuck did you make chicken and beef in the same sandwich work?
Yeah, how does
that? So it was like, what would a college dropout want to eat? And I'd be like, what fat like me would want to eat something when I'm really hungry? And there was one day,
all you need in it is like crispy chips just for no reason.
bro. There was one day where I was like, I worked all day. And I was fucking starving. I'm like, oh, what am I going to cook myself? I'm like, I'm going to cook everything. And I just put beef and chicken into a burger. I'm like, all right, this is different. It works.
It surprisingly works. It
whatever.
does.
So, I mean, like every aspect of thought into a product that I want to do has a story behind it. Like, that
was a weird backstory for that one though.
Hey!
I mean,
he didn't say it's the greatest stories of all time. I mean, he said it is a story.
Like when you mentioned KFC, right? Saying they're better than KFC.
Yeah.
I came up with the recipe for the spice mix that we use.
I was gonna say, I thought he was gonna say is the Colonel.
Right.
Like, what is this?
Wait. My brain just clicked on something.
No, well, I'll tell you something. What happened, bro?
Oh, go on.
This is like, and this is why I believe in fate and dreams and shit. I literally was trying to, doing trial and error. Started from a base of flour. Anyone that's tried to make fried chicken will know this. Start from a base of flour. You add a bit of salt, a bit of pepper, different spices. Try and work things out. Fry it. Taste it. Needs to be a little bit salty or sweeter or pepper, whatever. Right. I went through this process for weeks and weeks and weeks. One day, I had a dream. And in a dream, I was in a really, really dark office space, and I walked up and there was this guy sitting on a bench, like on a fucking desk, with white hair, and I've gone behind him in my dream, and I've looked over his shoulder, and he's writing, bro.
It was the motherfucking Colonel.
He's writing different spices that go into a mix, and there was one flavor that I couldn't work out, and his last thing was there, and he looked up, and then the dream was over, and I woke up going, what the put it in there, and it tastes identical to KFC.
So you're trying to tell me
Hey, look.
Wait, 1 second. Are you trying to say that you know the 11 herbs?
The secret recipe, man.
Do you want to get us killed? What do we do? Do you know that?
Do you want to be really honest, man? I just made the whole fucking story up. It never happened.
If you know, do not lie about that shit.
I'm not dreaming of no old motherfucker.
Listen,
my wife would kill me.
The Colonel has a cartel, bro. They'll come and kill us.
Did you actually experiment with making the own thing though?
No. So the actual mix is from 100% experimenting.
How many people do you want to get sued by?
But well, it's funny, man, because KFC never sued me. My chicken tastes identical.
How is everyone missing the aligning of the stars here? He didn't get the job at KFC, and he makes better fucking fried chicken than that.
Imagine I worked at KFC.
Oh shit, yeah, that's true. Right.
So you're telling me because he didn't get the job at KFC, he literally stole the 11 herbs and spices?
You know what?
That's your storyline.
That's probably the reason why it tastes so good. Because if I worked at KFC, I wouldn't have gone down the road to try and figure out how to work it out.
On your own.
All right, guys. I hate to do this. We're out of time.
Oh, okay.
We have to wrap things up. The cameras are dying.
How long have they got left?
Man, this guy can talk like a motherfucker.
Have they got 2 minutes?
I think you got 2 minutes.
Okay, we've got 2 minutes.
Mark,
so
say your stuff.
No, one second.
Oh, wait.
Before we go, we're going to Dubai in 2 weeks, right?
Hopefully
in 2 weeks. And I know you're thinking about expanding. So I don't want you to go fully into it, but he's going to go worldwide, guys.
Why would you plant that seed into my head?
Because that's what's going to happen. I'm making you a cannibal.
If the goal is Kanye, worldwide would get there.
Worldwide, bro. And he's going into the Middle East as well. So
well, you know what, man? If that's where my path leads, then I'll take it.
Shout outs to who you want to shout out quickly.
Yeah,
I got no one to shout out except you guys, man.
Where can they find you though?
Instagram, TikTok at College Dropout Burgers.
Yeah,
all one word.
He's also got a new store in Brunswick.
Just opened up in Brunswick.
And one in Ivanhoe as well.
The main one, I mean, the one that everyone knows is in Ivanhoe.
Is there a third location on the way?
Yeah, Dubai, bro. Dubai. There's gonna be a
too soon. Yeah, no, it's not too soon. I just like to surprise people.
Okay, and so Mark doesn't get in trouble. Shout out to his wife.
100%, man, bro. I wouldn't be here without her.
Shout outs to KFC and the Colonel. We no beef. Literally, it's chicken.
I don't want to get attacked in the middle of the night.
It's been a pleasure having you on. Like, really, it was a great chat.
It's been awesome.
And sorry if I talk too much.
No,
I've got so much more to say. Maybe I'm going to come back again.
Hopefully, you can come back again.
Okay, this is how you know this is the first podcast. apologizing for talking on a podcast.
Respect.
All right.
Thanks,
It's
guys.
been a
Thank
pleasure.
you guys. Thank you
Peace
so
out.
much.
Thanks.
You know how you said you grew up with a speech. What would you is
Speech impediment.
Speech impediment? Is that what you consider it?
Yeah.
For me, I didn't have a speech impediment, but I didn't talk. So I was always quiet. I was always, and even till now, I'm very quiet. So I have trouble talking.
Yeah.
No, even not even open up. Just talking in general. I have a lot of trouble. Like I feel like my words don't matter, sort of thing. No one hears my voice, so I'm quiet. That's why it take like hearing you how you had to start and you couldn't communicate. I'm like in the same boat.
What was that?
I
Did it feel like it fit in?
I was talking too much. No, but I'll tell you what, man. Like it's funny you say that, because like even though there's so many differences to what we went through and what we go through, you still relate to it though.
Yeah.
It's still like, oh, I understand that the context of what he's saying, because it's so similar to how I felt. So it's not about like whether you couldn't talk, whatever.
It's technically still
It
recorded.
is still.
So
It is
I
on,
have
but
that
my headset,
information.
my accent's
This is
Oh,
the
no,
cool.
throw that part in
This
there.
is the cool
If
BTS
the mic
one.
pick it up, I will. But I'll see.
Oh, they'll hear it. It's just that's how you know it's BTS. It's gonna be
It's
really
really-
quiet. It's gonna be really quiet.